I'd owned the weathered little cottage at the end of Saltwind Lane for exactly 4 hours and 37 minutes when the screaming started. "Sir, step away from that lawn immediately, or I'm calling the sheriff right now." I was on my knees in the sandy grass, wrestling the rusted for sale sign out of the ground, when the voice cracked across the yard like a whip. I looked up and saw a woman in her late 50s marching down the unpaved lane as if she owned the Pacific Ocean itself. White visor, mirrored sunglasses, khaki shorts pressed with a crease sharp enough to slice bread, and a navy blue polo with Paradise Cove Homeowners Association embroidered in gold over the left breast. In her right hand, she carried a metal clipboard like it was the tablets Moses brought down from the mountain. In her left, a stainless steel measuring tape glinted in the late afternoon sun. Behind her trailed a defeated-looking man in the identical polo, dragging a surveyor's wheel and staring at the ground like he was hoping it would swallow him whole. I stood up slowly, wiped my hands on my jeans still dusty from the drive down from Oregon, and tried to keep my voice level. "Afternoon, ma'am. Just pulling the sign. I closed on the place this morning." She stopped 2 feet from me, close enough that I could read the name tag. "Evelyn Hargrove, President." "James Donovan?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "That's me." "Then you're already in violation. 62 of them, to be exact." She flipped the clipboard around and slapped a thick packet against my chest. "You have 72 hours to correct, or we escalate to daily fines and lien foreclosure if necessary." I looked down at the cover sheet. The heading read "Notice of Noncompliance" in bold 14-point font. Below that, in neat columns, were the crimes. Lawn height 3.7 inches, max allowed 3.0. Exterior paint color driftwood blue, not an approved palette. Porch light fixture 3200 K, warm white, instead of mandated 5000 K, daylight. Unauthorized driftwood display on premises. Mailbox. Numerals in prohibited font, brush script deemed frivolous. American flag flown without prior architectural review committee approval. 62 line items. She'd managed all of that while I was still unloading boxes. "Ma'am," I said, trying to stay polite, "I've been here 4 hours. I haven't even found the coffee maker yet." "Excuses do not maintain property values, Mr. Donovan." She produced a 30-foot tape measure, snapped it open with a metallic crack, and started toward my front steps. "We'll begin with the mailbox height." Her husband, Douglas, gave me the most exhausted shrug I'd ever seen on a grown man and mouthed, "Sorry." That was my introduction to Evelyn Hargrove. "My name is James Patrick Donovan. 51 years old, 22 years in the Marine Corps, 2 combat tours in Fallujah, 1 divorce that took half my contracting business and all of my faith in marriage. I'd come to this forgotten stretch of the Central California coast looking for the only thing the judge couldn't split in mediation: quiet. The real estate listing had called the cottage a fixer with potential. The price, $138,000 for 2 acres and ocean frontage, had made the agent apologize out loud. The previous owner, Mrs. Eleanor Whitcomb, 89 years old and sharp as a tack, had laughed when I asked why it was so cheap. "Some people round here don't like questions," she'd said, handing me the keys with fingers bent from arthritis. "But the house has good bones. Captain built it himself in '53, and the beach goes with it. All of it." I figured she meant beach access. I had no idea she meant ownership. That first night, I sat on the sagging deck with a beer and watched the sun bleed into the Pacific. The only sounds were gulls and the low moan of the buoy off the point. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd finally found the place where nobody could tell me how to live. Then the pounding on the door started. Evelyn didn't wait to be invited in. She pushed past me, eyes sweeping the room like a drill instructor looking for dust. Douglas followed with the measuring wheel and a camera the size of a cinder block. They worked like a SWAT team. She barked violations, he photographed and logged. Kitchen cabinets. Oak, unapproved species. Bathroom tile, 4x4 instead of 6x6. Fishing rods visible from street. Prohibited sporting equipment. Driftwood on the hearth, unauthorized organic material. My coffee maker cord visible through the window. Visual clutter. The Marine Corps flag draped over the sofa. Patriotic displays require color fastness certification and prior submission of Form PC 417B. I stood there in shock while they cataloged my entire life in triplicate. When she measured my welcome mat and declared the font naughty nautical, in violation of terrestrial aesthetic standards. Something in me snapped calm, but it snapped. Get out of my house. Mr. Donovan, I am performing my elected duty. Lady, you've got 10 seconds before I perform my duty as a property owner and remove you myself. Her face went the color of a ripe tomato. She stormed out, Douglas trailing behind like a kicked dog. 23 minutes later, the sheriff's cruiser pulled up. Deputies Ramirez and Chun listened to Evelyn's breathless report of a hostile trespasser. Then listened to me explain I'd closed that morning and had the recorded deed in my hand. Ramirez looked at the 62-page packet, looked at me, looked at Evelyn, and sighed the sigh of a man who'd rather be fishing. Ma'am, this is a civil matter. We can't enforce law and height. But the covenants don't apply if he never signed them, Chin finished. They tipped their hats to me and left. I heard Ramirez mutter to his partner. 6th call from Hargrove this month. I'm starting to think about early retirement. I locked the door, poured a double bourbon, and went looking for that box Mrs. Whitcomb had mentioned was in the attic's spider attic. Found it under a stack of Life magazines from the Eisenhower administration. Inside, survey maps, brass-bound ledgers, a deed recorded in 1953 in flowing fountain pen script. I read until the bottle was empty and the words started swimming. The cottage didn't just have beach access. It owned the beach. All of it. From survey marker 22 to marker 84, for 0.1 miles of prime California coastline, bought outright by Captain Elias Whitcomb, USMC, Ret. After the Korean War, so his grandchildren and their grandchildren could walk the sand without some damn fool charging them admission. The language was bulletproof. Private ownership in perpetuity, no future encumbrance, no assessment, no homeowners association without written consent of the heirs. I looked out the salt-streaked window at the dark water and laughed out loud for the first time since the divorce papers were signed. Evelyn Hargrove had poked a sleeping bear with a very short stick. The next morning my phone started exploding. 73 emails, each more hysterical than the last. Evelyn had attached time-stamped photos of my roofline, my trash cans, even the shadow my chimney cast at 9:17 a.m. One photo zoomed in on my doormat with the caption, "Inappropriate nautical imagery." The fines were now $200 per violation per day. That came to $12,400 a day. I did the math twice to make sure I wasn't still drunk. I drove to the county recorder's office in San Luis Obispo. Marlene behind the counter took one look at the address and whistled low. The old Whitcomb place. Lord, you bought the thorn in Evelyn's side. She's been trying to get her hands on that parcel since 2008. They've collected $60 a month from every house in Paradise Cove for private beach maintenance since then. You do the math. I did. Roughly 500 homes times $60 times 12 months times 15 years. $3.6 million. For sand they didn't own. Marlene printed everything. Thick stacks of paper smelling like old courthouse injustice. The forged quitclaim deed from a shell company dissolved the same week it transferred title. The articles of incorporation listing only 3 names: Evelyn Hargrove, Douglas Hargrove, and Victor Lang, attorney at law. They'd created the HOA themselves, elected themselves to every office, and started billing. I drove home with the windows down and the radio off, letting the wind scour my brain clean. That night, Douglas Hargrove knocked on my door holding a 6-pack of Anchor Steam and looking like he hadn't slept since the Clinton administration. "I need to talk," he said. "Off the record. Man to man." I let him in. We sat on the deck. He opened 2 bottles with shaking hands. "She's planning to burn your place down," he said without preamble. Same way they did to Mrs. Whitcomb's nephew in 2018 when he started asking questions. "I've got the recordings." He laid a thumb drive on the table like it was radioactive. 2 years of her talking in her sleep, on the phone, to Victor. Offshore accounts in the Caymans. City councilmen taking envelopes. The whole thing. I started recording for divorce leverage. Kept going because I realized she's lost her mind. He played one clip on his phone. Evelyn's voice, cold as winter surf. "The beauty is these idiots think $60 a month is reasonable for exclusive beach access. They'll never know we don't own it. As long as the Whitcomb place stays empty, we're golden." Another clip, her laughing. "Oldwood burns fast. Accidents happen." Douglas looked 10 years older than he probably was. He left the drive in a notebook filled with dates, plates, and overheard conversations. One entry: if new owner pushes back, same solution as 2018. Contractor already lined up. I asked the obvious question: why not go to the sheriff yourself? Because half the council lives in Paradise Cove and pays the beach fee. They're all in on it. Victor's got judges who owe him favors. I needed someone with standing. That's you. He stood to leave. Use it, James. Burn the whole thing down. Just don't let her burn you first. After he left, I copied everything to 4 different clouds, emailed copies to a lawyer buddy from the Corps, and slept with the Remington across my lap and the porch light on. The next 10 days were a masterclass in petty tyranny. Fake Facebook accounts calling me everything from deadbeat to predator. Anonymous letters slipped under every door warning I was violent and unstable. A drone at 3 a.m. trying to photograph inside my windows until I shot it out of the sky with a 12-gauge beanbag round. Health department, building department, fire marshal, code enforcement, even a woman claiming to be from the Coastal Aesthetic Preservation League, who turned out to be Evelyn in a different blouse. I built a simple website, saltwintruth.com, and uploaded every document. Within 48 hours, it had 500,000 views. Neighbors started showing up with casseroles and apologies. Someone started a petition to dissolve the HOA. It hit 2,000 signatures in 4 days. Evelyn scheduled an emergency meeting for Friday night and, according to Douglas's latest photocopied memo, planned to have me arrested for cyber harassment the moment I walked in the door. She'd also hired 3 off-duty cops as security and scheduled my cottage for an accidental fire at 2 a.m. Saturday. I showed up Friday with printed packets for every seat, a retired federal judge who hated HOAs with religious fervor, 3 television crews, and Douglas wearing a wire for the FBI. The community center holds 400. 800 people came. Kids waved signs. My lawn height equals my choice. One old Marine veteran wore a shirt that read "Measure D's nuts." The mood was half revival, half lynch mob. Evelyn walked in wearing an ankle monitor, fresh from booking on preliminary fraud charges. Her hair had gone half gray in a week. Victor Lang took the podium and announced he was cooperating fully with federal authorities and placed 3 banker boxes of evidence on the table like surrender papers. The vote to remove the board was 792 to 1. Evelyn voted no. Even her own sister voted yes. She tried to flee. The ankle monitor screamed like a banshee. She collapsed in the aisle sobbing about property values while the room sang "God Bless America" off-key and perfect. 3 months later, the federal trial was standing room only. The evidence took 4 days to present. Douglas took the stand pale but steady and played the recording of Evelyn saying, "Old wooden houses burn so easily. Remember what happened last time someone got curious." The jury flinched as one organism. The arson attempt on my cottage was caught in 4K. 3 men, including the vice mayor, carrying gas cans across my beach at 1:47 a.m. My floodlights and motion sirens sent them scattering like roaches. One dropped his wallet. Rookie mistake. Guilty on every count. 22 years federal prison, full restitution, and 1,500 hours of community service mowing public parks with a push mower under the California sun. When the judge said push mower, the gallery lost its collective mind. A year later, the cottage is now the Whitcomb Freedom Cottage Museum. School buses stop out front. Kids pose next to the framed 62 violation notice and the glass case of Evelyn's confiscated measuring tapes. The beach from marker 22 to 84 is public again, packed every weekend with families who once paid thousands for the privilege of walking on sand that was always theirs. Property values went up 26% once people realized they could paint their front door whatever damn color they wanted. Douglas started a landscaping company called Cut It or Don't. Your call. He's dating a kindergarten teacher who thinks rules are gentle suggestions. I still keep the original cottage key on my key ring even though I sold the place to the community for $1. Some nights I drive down from my new place up the coast just to sit on the deck, drink a beer, and watch kids chase glow sticks across sand that finally belongs to everyone. Evelyn, last report, started an inmate committee to standardize jumpsuit sleeve length. The warden shut it down and put her in solitary for creating a hostile living environment. Some people never change. So that's the true story of how 1 box of old papers, 1 stubborn Marine, and one very angry woman with a measuring tape accidentally gave 4 miles of California coastline back to the people it was meant for all along. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me your own HOA horror story, or tell me where you stand. When someone abuses power this way, is 22 years behind bars too much, just right, or still not enough? Drop your story and your verdict. I read every single comment, and I answer as many as I can. See you in the comment section.